team says is the key to shutting down opposing offenses.
You know, Lamar does a fantastic job. He's an unbelievable athlete. Looks like he loves playing football. So we'll have to line up and play the next snap. You know, if they hit one, which they will, that's how it goes.
They do a good job. They throw a lot of pressures at you, bring it from all over, and really test you. So that's going to be a key for us this week, is being clean on all those things and trying to take advantage of some opportunities that are there when they do pressure.
The key to stopping play action is stopping the run game. I think when the run game gets going, that's when the play action shots available, because the defense is so aggressive trying to stop the run. So if we knock that out from the start, I think we'll be fine. I think if Tannehill try to pass on us, I don't think that'll go in their favor. So we know they're going to try to run the ball. So, but we just got to stop the run and play sound on the back end. I think that'll take care of the play action pass.
Thank you so much, Earl. A lot of people are going to look back to last year's Shregs. They're going to say, let's take a look at the wild card 2018 loss to the Chargers. It was the second time they played them last season. He turned his game around in the second half. They could not pull off a win. A lot of mistakes made by a rookie. I don't even want to see this full screen. I think it is such a different situation this year. Tell me why you guys think it will be so much different for Lamar Jackson and company.
It's a different situation, but it had to happen in order for Lamar to be the man that he is today. You know, it's funny, with Tom Brady out and Drew Brees out, we're talking about the passing of the torch, right? The passing of the torch. It's funny we're talking about the passing of the torch when in that game, they weren't even passing the ball. In that first half, I remember sitting there watching the game, yelling at the TV, let this man throw the ball. We talked about it yesterday on the show. I said, do you guys recall that playoff game where the Chargers basically out-coached Harbaugh and they said, we're going to load this box, we're going to put in all of our fast guys, we're going to bottle up Lamar, and we're going to dare you to go over the top of us. The reason why I know that sunk in with this team and that really motivated Lamar is because the first game of the season, what did Lamar Jackson do?
He threw for 6.
He threw that ball, and it was like, okay,
slinging it.
Now
Hollywood.
all of a sudden these defenses are backing up. Things are going to be different this time, because if you do decide to load the box, they got a guy named Marquise Brown that will go over the top. And if you want to sit back, then they got a guy named Mark Ingram, if healthy, can tote the rock.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a totally different Lamar Jackson than we saw last year in the playoff loss. And I think that motivated him throughout the entire offseason. I went back and looked at that game. Lamar Jackson was sacked 7 times in that game. You talk about the Chargers' defensive game plan. They basically took all their linebackers off the field. They said, we're going with speed. All right, that's how you beat Action Jackson. They had 7 defensive backs on the field, so they had coverage everywhere, and they got home. How did they get home? They attacked the left guard for the Baltimore Ravens. And at that time, Bradley Bozeman had to come in. It was James Hurst. He had an awful game. And when you look at this Baltimore Ravens offense now, this O-line is balling out. They're running the football more than anybody else. You guys have been talking about how they broke the NFL record for rushing yards. But this O-line has not given up a sack since week 6. So they've been phenomenal up front. That's why Lamar Jackson looks so much better. He's back there. He's comfortable. The game has slowed down for him a little bit. But I love the way Lamar finds a way to create motivation. He's a young buck, but man, he's got an old soul. And he remembers stuff like that last game. And now that is driving him. And I'm sure he's watching the film and saying, man, I don't even recognize that guy, because he's not the same player.
You think he's watching last year's wild card loss?
I think he looked at a little bit of it, because I think it's motivation, but it's also 3 of those 7 sacks, Shregs, were on 3rd and 11. And he's looking at it and saying, man, you know what?
Get in those situations.
The rush got to me. I took my eyes downfield. And he looked at that and said, man, okay, he doesn't even recognize that player, because he's morphed and he's grown so much in his
12 months ago was that game. I was at that game, and I'm telling you guys, you're watching on the sidelines, and Joe Flacco's putting his helmet on, and the crowd, who loves Lamar, but they also loved Flacco.
I remember that.
Crowd was saying, put Joe in. Like, it got to that. So now he internalizes that, spends the whole offseason. I think Lamar Jackson puts on an absolute show Saturday night. Guys, he's the best primetime player in the sport right now. If you have watched him in primetime this season, you know it. 3-0, and the numbers bear the story. 11 touchdown passes, no interceptions. The rushing yards are great. The rushing touchdowns are great.
Completion percentage.
And look at that prime. He's like the anti-Kirk Cousins
and
with
think
prime
about
time.
Who he's played against in those games. Remember, you had the Patriots win on a Sunday night where he threw the ball all over a Bill Belichick coach defense.
Yep.
Then you obviously had The Rams game where he was doing everything he wanted against Sean McVay and that Wade Phillips defense. That Monday night game with the Rams, I think he just scored another touchdown in that game. He threw so many. And then lastly, you go to prime time.
The Texans, too. They ran them out of the building.
That was a Texans game in regular time. But I just think these Saturday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night games, Lamar Jackson is incredible. And I think he's going to rise to the occasion. And just wait, it's been the year of Lamar Jackson. Last year, that was not his year. That was his coming to the party thing. This is the year. Just wait. I think we might have one of the greatest quarterback performances we've seen on a Saturday night game. I think he puts on an absolute show.
Whoa.
And everyone in America, not just football fans, are like, who is that guy?
I wouldn't be surprised. They've been trending upwards. I don't even want him to go back and look at what this team was in week 5, week 4. They're a different team every week. They've gotten better every week. And it's, yes, Lamar Jackson has completely developed and taking a huge leap as a passer. But you also got to give credit to the guys who are calling the plays. This is the first year Greg Roman is doing that. Totally different ballgame than that wild card loss and an entire season, the rookie season for Lamar Jackson. And John Harbaugh, it's like I'm with you. They needed that wild card loss. They stewed on it. They went and they fixed it. Last year they had the pieces, right? They had the infrastructure. It was like when you got, that iPod, that like really nice iPod back in the day, or the Touch, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden the iPhone comes out, and you're like, this was already great. This is a game changer and amazing. It's like that sort of an upgrade from year 1 to year 2. And I don't know how they're going to be stopped. We'll have, of course, the health of Mark Ingram, which you've been pointing to all week long as something to really keep your eye on ahead of this matchup. Then you look at the other side where they do have a running back who is healthy and virtually unstoppable in Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill, who's going to have to throw in this matchup a lot more than he did to get this team here. What do we feel about that quarterback?
What you think, Shaun?
Ryan Tannehill, we're talking about the young guns here in the AFC. He's not exactly an old bull. I mean, this guy is slinging it. So I put Ryan Tannehill, he doesn't have the gaudy numbers that Mahomes and these other guys have, but every single week, Ryan Tannehill throws a dart, and sometimes it's just 3 or 4 little throws, but he's been on the money. I mean, you look at A.J. Brown and what he's done with him. This throw right here on the tight end, it was great read. Oh, and by the way, he had a defender right in his face as he got rid of that football. You see that hand coming right there? Ryan Tannehill is unfazed right now, and he hasn't had to throw the ball 35 times because of how good Derrick Henry has been and how this offense has run the football. I mean, they're playing smash-mouth football up front. I love what Roger Saffold and Taylor Lewan are doing up front. But Ryan Tannehill, every single week, when you turn on the film, he's making pinpoint throws. And guess what? In the playoffs, sometimes it may come down to just 2 or 3 throws. And A.J. Brown can do the damage after the catch. But when you look at all these throws, not one of these receivers has to change stride. I mean, the ball is right there. Nate, you know all about that. It's different. If you reach it back here, or if you're doing this, now all of a sudden, the toe drag swag doesn't look the yak.
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally different.
No doubt about it. Listen, Ryan Tannehill, he's proved to be a guy that can be the face of an organization. He did that in Miami. I think now with Tennessee, he's proved to be a guy that can carry his team into the playoffs. Now, what we saw in this past game was they wanted to beat up the Patriots. They wanted to physically impose their will, and they did that for 4 quarters, off the legs and the back of Derrick Henry. They didn't need to put up numbers. But if you look at the regular season, they had games where they put up 30-plus points. They had games where they were like, you know what, Derrick Henry, you can have an off day. I'm going to use Corey Davis and A.J. Brown. I'm going to use our host of tight ends, and we're going to pick you apart with the passing game. So Ryan Tannehill can go into each game with a game plan that's either beat you up on the ground the old school way and let Derrick Henry touch the ball 30 times, or I can go up top. What's great about this matchup is listening to Earl Thomas say, well, the reason it's hard to stop play action is because it's hard to stop the run. Or basically, we got to stop the run. Now, that's easier said than done.
Sure.
I'm waiting to see Earl Thomas coming downhill, one of the best hitters of his era.
Oh, yeah.
And Derrick Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to meet eyes.
Is this a decision?
It feels like Ray Lewis and Eddie George a little bit. It's the same teams here when you talk about it.
Talk about it.
Now, look, Tannehill's numbers will not win you a fantasy.
You really are.
His numbers, he threw for 70 yards. That's nothing. If you look at just a stat sheet, you're like, ugh, he didn't play well. 3rd down, late in the game. Tannehill needs to convert this to keep the Patriots off the field and keep Tom Brady off the field. Tannehill hits Anthony Ferkser on this huge 3rd down play, backed up against his own end zone. That is a 1st down. That moves the chains. That wins the game. So Tannehill, stats might not always be there, Nate, and you acknowledge that sometimes they are. But the stats are, that's a beautiful clutch pass in Foxborough with everything on the line.
You ain't lying.
And he hits a guy who might not be a household name. I think Tannehill has nerves of steel. and is not scared of these situations. And when you're a team like Tennessee going into the #1 seed, that's what matters most.
He's not making mistakes, which is great to see. We'll see if the bright lights are too much. Of course, that defense, the Ravens, since they got Marcus Peters in Week 7.
Those lights go on and off right in Baltimore.
The #1 defense in the
like
league.
A thriller.
They did pick up that cornerback since like
I can't wait for this game, man.
I know.
Like what?
Huh?
Like Thriller?
Yeah, like just like I mean, you're you're in the club, like
Yeah.
you're at Marquee, and you got table service.
Why are you talking
and the
about
lights
me
are
being
going
at
like,
Marquee?
you know,
This is
Okay,
the
you know
2000s.
Marquee.